Hi there, this is Izzy, and today it's time for a little experiment, something I've not done before, and I'm quite excited about it. So I mentioned on one of the posts to Orchidea about being interested in putting my Angraecum rutenbergianum into perhaps a Leca setup or some other inorganic medium. And I've never actually tried an inorganic setup, so I thought I might experiment with this phal. So I've had this phal a little while and it's a very reliable bloomer. It's bloomed once this year already, as you can see, and it's going to try all over again. But I have been slightly worried about the number of the number of roots that it's growing outside the pot versus what I can see inside the pot itself. Now I don't see any healthy root growth in there. It really doesn't look happy somehow. So it's possible that this plant is flowering due to stress, which was a suggestion from one of Ninja Orchids videos actually. So I thought it's a good time to repot it, and cheap shop bought complex hybrid phal is a good plant to try in a new kind of medium that I've never used before. It's also a good time because it's growing roots, so it's got some growing root tips there. So in general, this plant is at a good stage to be repotted. The medium I'm going to try using is expanded clay pebbles. So I think these can be called Leca beads. I have no idea whether these are particularly branded ones. I just bought expanded clay pebbles. We'll see. And I'm going to go for a self-watering setup. So provided this plant has enough roots to go into a pot the same size as the old one, I'm going to put it into this clear plastic pot so I can see how the roots adapt. And I've got what are nylon strings here. I don't know whether you should use nylon or not. I am distinctly not the expert at this. Please watch other people do the expert stuff. But I'm all way up for an experiment. So let's get this phal out of its pot. I've already soaked this phal in water, so if there are any roots in here, they should be quite flexible thanks to having been soaked in the water already, and they should come away from any bark medium fairly easily. I definitely want to remove as much bark medium as I possibly can, because that will not be good in a self-watering setup. It would be constantly wet. But sometimes with self-watering setups you do have to take the plant out and remove any roots that have died a few months afterwards. So we'll just see how it goes. You wait generally until they've got new root growth because you do expect the old roots to be poorly adapted to the new medium, and so they're quite likely to die. So there's almost nothing to this root system. So whilst this plant's got plenty of leaves, it's got nothing really, hardly anything to support it down below. The roots that it does have are quite yellowed. This is a new root that it has grown recently. It doesn't look super healthy. It's a bit odd that it's gone kind of pinky brown on the end. So I'm quite glad I'm repotting this one in general. There's also signs that it might be trying to produce new roots from here. That's the little white nubbin there. And there's definitely this root coming off the top. So let's see if this plant just prefers a different medium altogether. I was originally going to put it in a larger pot, but I was originally going to put it in the same size pot as this, but I think actually because of the tiny root system, it's going to have to go in a tiny pot. So I'll just swap around the cords. Great, so I've got my smaller pot ready with the cords now. So these cords are going to act as wicks so that the water can come up from a reservoir that's going to be in the decorative pot and around the roots of the plant. The amount of loop that I leave here, I understand, will determine how much water comes up through into this pot. And so I have no idea how big these loops need to be in my environment because I've never done this before. And what I'm probably going to have to do is make them longer or shorter depending on how wet I can see the leca being inside here when I got the plant in there. It's all a bit of an experiment really. So let's add a little bit of leca and then let's add our plant. These leca beads have been soaked in tap water for quite some time. Probably should have soaked them in rainwater, but this is so that any salts or anything during the manufacture of the beads can leach out and not affect the orchid. Right, so we've successfully got loads of leca around the base of this orchid. I don't know how the roots are going to do with adapting to this environment, so we're just going to have to watch this plant and see. I'm hoping that the roots start to snake down towards the inorganic medium. This plant's got some leathery leaves, I expect to lose those. It's got some bad looking roots, I kind of hope they go. But it does have these aerial roots which seem to be sustaining it, and we'll just have to see how the condition of this plant goes over the coming months. Now the only tragic thing left for me to do is to take off this flower spike, because I don't think this orchid is actually flowering because it's happy. I think it might be doing the stress flowering that Ninja Orchids mentioned. So for the first time, it's goodbye flower spike. I don't like doing that. I don't do that very often. It's not my favourite thing to do. And there you have it, one phal in a self-watering setup in leca beads. So brand new kind of setup, brand new kind of medium for me, and just trying it out with a cheap phal to see what happens. Hopefully the plant adapts well, and I'll be checking in on this plant to see what's going on in the future. But that's it from me for now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up down below, and if you'd like to see more, just subscribe to the channel. I bring out new videos every week. It's been lovely to have you. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.